Yo, what is up, everybody? It's DFS Dudes back for the Friday edition of the Deep Dive. Today is August the 30th, closing out the month of August and getting ready for the final push for some of these teams to make the playoffs, pennant races, etc. Before we get into it, another weekend jam-packed with sports. And all I can tell you is, if you're a daily fantasy player, whether it be recreationally, full-time, just doing it for the purposes of having fun and getting a little action in on the games you're watching for the weekend, we've got all kinds of content for you covering almost every single sport relevant to daily fantasy. Football, MMA, basketball, hockey, baseball, golf, NASCAR. We're going to break out college football rankings and college football content. The reason I bring it up is simple. Use code NFL2019 at checkout and take advantage on 50% off our annual pass. That's full access, premium DFS tools, slate breakdowns, deep dive podcasts like this, premium articles, ownership projections from UF Collective, the absolute best in the business, optimal cash lineups for basketball, football, and baseball, daily core play videos. Look, one stop. We are truly your one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. DFSCheatSheet.com. VIP memberships are $29.99. That's a monthly membership. But take advantage of the NFL 2019 code at checkout. It's our kickoff special. Get 1 year for $175. That's half off. Let's get into today's slate. A typical Friday with a ton of games on the slate. The Cubs are playing early. Miami's at Washington. And you've got Anibal Sanchez against Eliezer Hernandez. Hernandez, a guy that, look, you take a look at him from, like, if you're just looking at a game log standpoint, a really solid start in 3 of his last 4 outings. 6 innings against Atlanta, 49 fantasy points, 7 strikeouts. Excuse me. 6 innings against the Dodgers, 7 strikeouts. He did give up 6 earned runs, but he went 6 innings and still struck out 7. He's got upside. Not a good start against Atlanta. Kind of the second time he saw him in a week and a half span. 5 strikeouts and earned run. He only went 4 innings, got into some trouble. And then his last start against Philadelphia, 6 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, a win, a quality start, 37 fantasy points. At 7,300, I don't love this spot. I don't love it. But I have to tell you, it's a decent GPP play when you look and see Coors Field on the slate and the pitching options at Coors Field today. So I'm okay if you want to get some exposure to him. I'm also okay if you want to get some exposure to Anibal Sanchez. These mid-tier targets I like when Coors Field is on the slate. Anibal Sanchez just, look. You go back to June 10th, 6 innings. June 16th, 6 innings. June 27th, 6 innings. June 22nd, 6 innings. The 28th, 6 innings. The 14th of July, 6 innings. The 20th of July, 6 innings. The 26th of July, 7 innings. The August 6th start, 6 innings. He has a start August 17th against Milwaukee, 5 earned runs. This was a kind of a... Nobody used him that day, and everybody was on the Brewers. It was a chalky spot for the Brewers. It just didn't feel right. Warm weather. There's a lot of statistics about Washington's ballpark and runs scored when the temperature's above 88 degrees. His last start at the Cubs, August 23rd, 8 1/3, strikes out 6, 50 fantasy points. Anibal Sanchez is a good mid-tier target play against the Miami Marlins team that has a ton of upside against them. And when you've got Coors Field on the slate, you have to take these mid-tier targets into consideration. So both these guys I think are okay in tournaments. I wouldn't get a large exposure percentage to them, but I would get minimal exposure, 5%, 10% of my lineups between those two guys to give yourself some upside with the bigger bats at Coors Field. The Mets and the Phillies, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, I feel like we've seen this 3 times already this year. I don't particularly like either side of it. It's at Philadelphia. I could see both these guys getting a quality start, striking out 5 or 6 guys. I could see both these guys getting into trouble. I just don't like this spot too much for either one of them, one way or the other. I think Nola, you have to give tournament consideration to at 10-4. You look at in 4 of his last 5 outings, he's gone 7 innings. with at least 7 strikeouts. The White Sox, the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Marlins were those starts. Against the Giants, 5 innings, 7 hits, 3 strikeouts, 3 earned runs, only 15 fantasy points. But really, outside of that, he's been outstanding. And you could go all the way back to June 21st against Miami. 8 innings, 10 strikeouts, 55 fantasy points. Follows it up against the Mets at home, 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, 55 fantasy points. Then goes to Atlanta on July 2nd, 8 innings, 8 strikeouts, 58 fantasy points. And then just follows it up with consistency. 8 innings, 6 2/3, 6, 7, 6 2/3, 7, 7, 7, 7. So Nola you have to give consideration to because he's pitching extremely well. There's a playoff type atmosphere tonight. I really think overall he's in a good spot. But I got to tell you, I can feel being very contrarian in the spot and taking the Mets here. Look, I'm not saying go overboard, but I can feel from a tournament standpoint being a little bit contrarian and taking the Mets. I think Nola's in a great spot. He's pitching really well. He's in good form. You look at the previous 5 starts, like I said, 10 strikeouts against the White Sox August 3rd. August 14th, 7 strikeouts against the Cubs, 7 against Boston, 7 against Miami, 37, 46, 49, 58 fantasy points in those starts. So Nola's a guy definitely in consideration. Definitely a guy you want to get cash game exposure to. Oakland and New York, I think the Yankees are a top stack today. Brett Anderson, look, Brett Anderson has been very serviceable. 26 starts. He's 10-9 with 16 quality starts. That's really good for what he is for the Oakland Athletics, a 4th or 5th starter. That's what you need out of a guy in that spot, in that slot in your rotation. He's been pretty mediocre in the month of August. 11 earned runs over 23 innings, a 4.30 ERA, and a 12-8 K to walk ratio. I think the Yankees are in a tremendous spot here. Tremendous spot. I'm not interested in Sabathia on the other side of it. I'm really not. I get the price. It's a big discount. It's $6,000 is what it feels like. But he's 5-8 this year. 19 games, he's 5-8, only 6 quality starts, less than 33% of the time. He hasn't made it out of the 4th inning. Well, he went 4 1/3 against Boston. But if you go back to July 22nd, 4 innings, 4 1/3 against Boston, 3 against Cleveland, 4 against the Dodgers. And the start against the Dodgers, he only gave up 2 earned runs and struck out 7. He had 27 fantasy points. If you want to take a flyer here, understand what you're getting. You're looking for him to give you 25 fantasy points, 24 fantasy points to get you a 4X. If there's any way he could get you 30 fantasy points tonight and you've got Coors Field stacked up and it goes off, you're sitting pretty. But I just don't like the fact that he's gone 4 innings, 4 1/3, 3 innings, 4 innings. He's old. He's long in the tooth, as they say, both literally and metaphorically. I don't like it. Moving on. Houston's at Toronto. Wade Miley, Trent Thornton. Houston's on fire. Houston's on fire. Wade Miley in tournaments feels overpriced to me. I'd rather go with Bumgarner at 9.2 at home. Minnesota's at Detroit. Edwin Jackson is a gas can. The Twins should be chalk. Cleveland at Tampa Bay. Shane Bieber against Austin Pruitt. I like Cleveland. I don't love them, but I do like them today. Bieber in a good spot. You look at Bieber against Tampa Bay. You look at Nola against the Mets. Kind of in the same type of spot with a playoff type atmosphere. Both teams in the thick of it. Both pitching against teams that could put some runs on the board. So, they don't feel comfortable, but they're decent spots. The White Sox are at Atlanta. Max Fried against Ivan Nova. I like the Braves a lot here. Rightfully so. Max Fried's been a really good pitcher this year. He's been a really good pitcher. 34 games pitched. He's 14-4 with 12 quality starts. 139 strikeouts and 136 innings pitched. And the problem I have with Fried is he's a young guy, okay? And you look at his starts, go back to June 30th, and he's been outside of the 5th inning 4 times, okay? June 19th, he pitched 6 innings against the Mets. He pitched 5 1/3 innings July 27th. He pitched 5 1/3 innings August 7th. And he pitched 6 innings against the Mets on August the 13th. Outside of that, everything's 5 innings. And why am I bringing this up? Why is it relevant? Well, for one, we're selfish and we don't want the win. We want qualify for the win, get me the quality start, give me the strikeout upside. The strikeout upside's there. He's gone 5. He can qualify for a win with that. But I think that he's young. The Braves in a pennant chase, looking at their playoff rotation, and I think they're going to limit the amount of pitches he throws, and that's why you see a guy coming out at the 5 1/3 inning mark with 6 strikeouts. Or against Minnesota, 5 1/3 innings, 10 strikeouts. No earned runs. August 7th, he goes 5 1/3, gives up 5 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, no earned runs. Gets the win. They're limiting the pitches that he's throwing. That's why he came out with 5 1/3 innings pitched. Not 5 2/3, not 6, not 6 1/3, because they're limiting the amount of pitches he throws. Strikeout pitchers, I talked about it the other day when Scherzer pitched, throw more pitches. Get a guy 0-2, you waste a couple pitches trying to get him to chase. Before maybe you decide to blow him away with a fastball or something, right? So I don't like Fried at 8,800. I just don't see him going deep into a game. He has not pitched past the 6th inning at all this year, period. And then you take a look at the recent run of starts where you see him coming out at the 5 1/3 inning mark. That quality start can be 6 to 10 points, depending on what that third out is, right? You get in the 6th inning, you strike out the last guy. I mean, boom, there goes 10 points. I get the quality start. I get a strikeout. So at 8,800, I'm not going to be using Fried today. I just don't think that the upside is there with that play. Seattle's at Texas. Marco Gonzalez against Kobe Allard. Kobe Allard's been pretty good for Texas. I don't like that this is at Texas. Marco Gonzalez 14-10 this year. And start looking at his starts. Right? So he faced Texas back on July 22nd in Seattle. 7 innings, 4 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, 37 fantasy points. He faced Texas at home May 28th. Only went 4 innings, gave up 6 earned runs, 6 fantasy points. May 22nd, he faced Texas at Texas. 7 innings, 3 strikeouts, 1 earned run. Got a quality start. And he faced Texas at home April 25th. 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, no earned runs, a win and a quality start, 58 fantasy points. He's pitched fairly well against Texas. I think Texas will be somewhat popular today, given the game's at home in that ballpark. And it's Gonzalez. There's not a chance in hell you're going to get me to load him up, though, at 8,900. Not a chance in hell. Allard at 7,500 I think is very intriguing as a tournament play, mainly because of his price. The only factor I don't like in this is that he's pitching at Arlington. Anything can happen there. But in 4 starts this year, he goes 4 1/3 against Milwaukee, strikes out 7, 28 fantasy points. Follows that up by going 5 2/3 at Toronto, 5 strikeouts, 29 fantasy points. The rough outing was against the Angels, who I don't, day in and day out, I don't recommend using pitchers against the Angels because the upside's not there. They're a contact team. They don't strike out a bunch. They're a sub 18% K percentage team. His last start against the White Sox, 6 1/3, 6 hits, 8 Ks, win, quality start, 53 fantasy points for a guy who was at 6,500 in his last start. Last Saturday. And was probably, I was shocked to see not in the winning lineup in the live final. I was really exposed to him in tournaments that day. And I just thought he was the best pitcher on that slate. I couldn't believe that. I thought he'd be in the winning lineup. But that's that. Baltimore at Kansas City. This is a sneaky little start here, okay? You see Baltimore, you see Kansas City, you see our boy John Means on the mound, okay? John Means in his last 2 starts, 5 innings against the Royals, 2 earned runs, 21 fantasy points. Then follows it up by going 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, an earned run, a win, a quality start, 49 fantasy points against Tampa Bay. John Means has been a guy I've liked all year long. I really like John Means tonight at 6,500. I think this is a really good value play. It's a really good SP2 on DK. Yeah, Jorge Soler is a guy that you want to avoid. And I mean, you start talking about in the Kansas City lineup, where are the guys that really have the thump? Merrifield, Gordon, Dozier, Soler. Where else is it? O'Hearn from time to time. A guy, I mean, he's hitting, what is he hitting, 200? John Means throws a heavy fastball, man. You just watch him pitch, it's heavy. Heavy fastball. And, before he had his little injury where he kind of went, I think they backdated it, or I don't know what they did. Paternity list or family emergency. I don't remember what it was, but he came back and didn't really do much. 3 1/3, 3 2/3, 3 2/3. But he's kind of found his groove again. And this is a guy that I've recommended in some big spots. May 6th against Boston, I was all over him. Super contrarian play. 7 innings, only 4 strikeouts, but he got a win, a quality start, only gave up 1 earned run, 40 fantasy points at this price tag. I like him a lot in tournaments today. I like him a lot. Skoglund, I want nothing to do with, and I like Baltimore's bats a little bit. I don't think anybody's going to be on Baltimore's bats, but Skoglund is not a guy that I want anything to do with. And I think Baltimore could put some runs up today. Cincinnati's at St. Louis. Trevor Bauer against Dakota Hudson. Bauer's 9,600. And, right? 4 1/3 innings in the July 28th start where he throws the ball over the center field fence. His first start for Cincinnati goes 4 2/3, gives up 3 earned runs. Nothing big. Faces the Cubs and mows them down, 11 strikeouts. Goes into Washington, again at Washington. I kind of throw that out the window a little bit. And, 9 earned runs. And then he faces the Padres in San Diego and mows them down, 11 strikeouts. At Pittsburgh, we talked about Pittsburgh against right-handed pitching this year. They're scary. 7 earned runs. You can use him, but understand what you're doing. You're following a trend, like good start, bad start, good start, bad start. This should be the good start. St. Louis is not the best against right-handed pitching. Boy, that's uncomfortable. On the flip side, you've got Dakota Hudson at 8,700 on FanDuel. Hudson's 13-6, 3.7 ERA. Picked up a win in his last outing. You look at his last 3 starts, he's gotten a win and a quality start, going 6 2/3, and 6. Should be a pretty good spot for Hudson at 8,700. Should get him pretty low owned today. Pittsburgh, Colorado, the Coors Field game. Agrizal against Sintazella. Load this game up. Just stack this thing 6 ways from Sunday. I literally might build 75 lineups that are Colorado stacks and 75 lineups that are Pittsburgh stacks. And in 10 of those 150, I'll have Colorado and Pittsburgh stacked together. That could be the way that I go today. I just think that there's going to be a million runs scored in this game. The Dodgers at Arizona. Gonsolin is due for regression. He just is. He's due for some regression. I mean, this was a guy that wasn't a very good pitcher. They throw him into the starting lineup. And you look at 125 ISO against lefties, a 154 ISO against righties. The K percentages are only 18% each. You look at his stats and what he's done. 4 innings, 4 innings, 6 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings. Obviously, they don't let him throw a lot of pitches. The first start was against Arizona, 4 innings, 4 earned runs, 6 hits. I just don't like him here. I think the Diamondbacks, they're an okay stack. I can see him scoring 4 runs today, 5 runs. I don't think they're going to go off for 11 like they did last night. And Gallen, it's scary to to take any right-handed pitcher against this left-handed dominant lineup that just smashes right-handed pitching. Evaldi and Suarez, Boston and Anaheim. Evaldi, I think, has got a confidence issue. He opens the season, and you look at what – I mean, look, first of all, an outstanding postseason for them last year. His first 3 starts, 6 earned runs, 3 earned runs, 5 earned runs. The 4th start, it looked like he's got it together a little bit, and then he ends up on the IL. Doesn't come back until July 22nd. They use him as an opener. The month of August, let's go back to July 25th, an inning, the 27th an inning, the 30th an inning, the 2nd an inning, the 5th an inning. Then they ramp him up a little bit. 2 days later, and they kept him kind of on this every 2 days he was pitching. 2 innings on the 7th, 2 innings on the 9th. And then he's all the way up to now, his last appearance against the Padres, he pitched 3 innings. It's not usable. He's not usable. He's not usable, period. Do not use him. For one, if you used him, it would be for 2 reasons. Coors Field, value play, strikeout upside. So you'd be hoping that you load this guy up at 5,500. He pitches 4 innings tonight, not 3, not 2. 4 innings, and strikes out 6 guys. The Angels have 0 strikeout upside. I just talked about it. Suarez, no thank you. I think Boston is the second best stack today. Suarez not very good. 13 games, he's 2-5 with a 6.67 ERA. You start looking at his metrics, a 333 ISO against left-handed bats, a 182 ISO against right-handed bats. He does better against, wrong guy. 267 ISO against righties, only a 17.3% K percentage against righties. Look, Boston's in a really good spot here. Period, point blank, end of story. The last game on the slate gives us the Padres at the Giants. Lamet and Bumgarner. Lamet, 8,200. This guy's got really good stuff, man. He's got really good stuff. He's young. His last outing against Boston was at home. He gave up 4 earned runs over 5 innings, 18 fantasy points. Tough lineup. But he goes into Philadelphia, strikes out 6 over 6 innings, gets a win and a quality start. The start against Seattle, where he went 7 innings, took a no-hitter into the 8th inning, 12 strikeouts. Big ballpark at Oracle. The Giants aren't world beaters. They're not going to hit 7 home runs tonight. At 8,200, I can get behind Lamet a little bit. I can also get behind Bumgarner at 9,200. I like him. He's pitched really well in his career against the Padres. Go back to July 28th, 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, 33 fantasy points. He opened the season early in the season with a start against the Padres. I mean, look. It's Madison Bumgarner. It's the Padres. I think he's in a really good spot. I'm not extremely excited about it, but I'm not extremely excited about many pitching options on this slate, to be honest with you, that are above $8,500. I'm just not. There's some really good value out there at pitching with Coors Fill in this slate, and I think this is another one of those slates where you can be very contrarian. Aaron Nola is the most excited I'm going to get for a high-price starter. I think he's clearly the best starter on this slate, and he's clearly, to me, in the best spot on this slate. Bieber's in a good spot. Don't get me wrong, he's in a good spot. It's Bieber. It's Tampa Bay at home. They just wrecked a Greinke. I don't like it as much. Nola's in a good spot. The only thing that I'm uncomfortable about is some of the left-handed bats in that Mets lineup. But look, he's seen these guys a lot this season. That doesn't always bode well, but he's seen them a lot. He's got an idea of what he's trying to accomplish. And he's gone out over the last month and executed pitches and had high strikeout totals against some good lineups. You go down the list, and look, I'll get right back to it, okay? If you want to take a chance on Kyle Gibson at 8.4, that's probably the next guy. Dakota Hudson at 8.7, Gibson at 8.4, Lamet at 8.2. I think Anibal Sanchez is worth a shot in tournaments. Kobe Allard is a tournament play, more of a dart because of where it's at. Hernandez is a dart, but I don't hate it. I think there's some upside in that play. And John Means at 6,500. To me, there's value today at pitching. There just is. Who are the stacks? Who do I like? Well, I've given you some that I like already. Let's look at the implied run totals, and we'll talk about what I think is off, what I think is right on, and what I think is contrarian based on the way I think things could go tonight. The highest implied run total is Colorado with 7.6, rightfully so. Minnesota at 6.7, rightfully so. Pittsburgh at 6.6, rightfully so. I'm a little iffy on this Washington thing because I talked about Hernandez in his last 3 starts. Houston, I think, is right on the money. The Yankees, right on the money. Atlanta and Boston, I like those as well. And then you've got Arlington. The A's, to me, seem like a team that could go very under-owned today. A team I absolutely love. The Orioles, another team that I think could go very under-owned and be very contrarian. I just don't think Skoglund is a very good pitcher. I think John Means is a pretty good pitcher. That's where I'm at today, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back tomorrow for another edition of the Deep Dive. Until then, be cool, keep it cashing. Peace out.